Right. Welcome to the live chat. Welcome to live. All right, guys. So today I'm just on one about what is the cure for your anxiety. The cure for your anxiety is action. So, look, I think a lot of people have anxiety in a lot of areas, right? Whether it's your finances or some other area, right? The only cure for anxiety is action. So, the reason I bring this up is because a lot of times, people spend their time wasting their time. Uh, let's talk about the biggest time waste: scrolling on TikTok, right? Scrolling on YouTube or Facebook or whatever apps you scroll on. That video, the scrolling on the videos, social media, man, that stuff is it's a dangerous drug. It's a dangerous drug. It gets you, first of all, it gets you in a consumer mindset. So you're constantly consuming, you're consuming content. You're getting a dopamine spike for doing nothing. And this is extremely dangerous because if you want to cure or fix something in your life, the only real cure or fix for something like anxiety is action, right? If you know that you're taking the right actions towards something, whatever it is, as long as you're taking the right actions towards it, it's going to quell that anxiety because a lot of people just don't know what they're doing. And so they have anxiety because they're not taking action towards anything. And, in Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill said that success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So let's look at that. The progressive realization of a worthy ideal. That's success. Now, what does that mean? To realize a worthy ideal. What is a worthy ideal? A worthy goal, a goal that's worth your time, a goal or a target or an objective that's worth your time, that's aligned with your values, that's aligned with your purpose. And the realization of that is the obtainment or the action necessary to achieve it. So, the progressive realization of a worthy ideal means that you are progressively realizing your goal. So, guys, I don't know how else to put it, but if you are looking to accomplish something in your life, whether it's make more money, build a good relationship, build a business, achieve something in your health or fitness, whatever it is, achieving a worthy ideal progressively, that is success. So that means that you have to put in the effort every day, all the time, consistently, progressively moving the needle, right? Bit by bit, making progress. Now, how can you make progress if you don't take action? It's impossible. That, then a lot of people just take action, but it's not towards a particular goal. Or if it is towards a particular goal, it seems like a lot of people struggle with identifying what is the right goal, what is the right target, what's a real, objective, measurable target that you can establish so that what you're doing is moving towards that goal. And, this is the challenge with being a high achiever. You're constantly looking for some way to accomplish a goal. But in order to do that, you have to, first of all, audit your goals, right? Are they worthy? Are they worthy ideals? Are those goals worthy ideals? And how do you know if the goals that you're taking action towards are actually aligned with your purpose? So you have to really spend a lot of time looking at, well, what is my purpose? And of course, your purpose, your purposes, your goals, all these things change over time because life changes, you change. If you're not, and most people who don't change in that sense are usually very depressed or very stuck in their own patterns. So, why do I bring this up? Because I felt like, the only way to keep things moving forward is to consistently take action. So, progressively achieving or the progressive realization of a worthy ideal is the consistent application of action towards a well-defined goal, right? So said another way, progressive realization of a worthy ideal is the consistent action towards a well-defined goal or objective. Now, when you take action towards these goals and objectives, really what's happening is you're starting to get progress. And once you get progress, then you start getting momentum. And that momentum is what's going to pull you out of the old energy, the old patterns, into something new. That's what's going to pull you out of your old ways of thinking and start to get you in your creative mind so that you can see what's really happening outside you in the world around you. And the more that you can get clear and present with the way the world is, the world around you, if you have to come to terms with the fact that the world is here, then you can start to realize or understand what the field is. The field is in quantum science is the shared collective field of potential energy, the collective potential reality, the potential of anything, right? When you start to look at the field and you realize that you have the ability to make a change in the field, well, what happens is you make changes within yourself that affect the field. And then when you come face to face with the quantum field, which is kind of like this endless soup of possibilities, right? It's like we're living in this, I call it the chaos soup. We live in a soup of chaos, but within that chaos is this unlimited potential of energy. And if you're in an unlimited potential of energy, you can pretty much do anything you want with it. But you have to look at what is it in you that you're reflecting out there first, and how you can change what's happening out there internally. So this is kind of like, the ability to look at how you are a reflection of your environment, but you also have the ability to change your environment. You can change the way that other people think about you and feel about you in your presence. But it's you, right? It's you. You're the one that has the ability to make that change. Now, you can't control what other people think and do and say and all that, but you can influence them. And that's really what this is about. At all levels of success, leadership, sales, influence, it's all about that. It's about making an impact, influencing how people think, and causing them to change the stuckness that they're in. Right? Most people are in a fixed mindset. They're in a fixed environment, and they don't know how to handle change. They don't know how to handle the scenario or existence of life that they're encapsulated in around them, right? So how do you start to influence that? How do you change that? I think on a deep fundamental level, it starts with you. You change yourself. But when it comes to this setting goals, determining your objectives, determining what's going to move the needle for you, you really have to look at where you're at. You have to look at what else is happening out there. And I think we have to come to terms with the fact that first of all, our results is our responsibility, right? The world around us is our responsibility. We can't change the whole world, but we can change our immediate environment. You can change who you talk to. You can change who you interact with. You can change who you listen to. You can change the environment that you're in. You can influence the people around you. You can influence the environments around you. And, in order to really be able to do that, you have to start with the responsibility of self. Because when you take responsibility for being here and interacting with this world around you, no matter how perfect or imperfect it may be, or the people around you, it starts with a responsibility of yourself. When you can fully grasp the responsibility of yourself, then you can start to grasp the extended responsibility of that responsibility. So if you're responsible for yourself, responsible for your results, the way that you think, the way that you show up, the way that you interact with people, the way that you interact with the world, now you start to understand that is the foundation of influence. So if you can understand that, now you can start to use that to change the people around you, to change the environment around you, to change the world around you. And then you can start to really look at what goals are truly viable, right? Whether it's a career goal, a money goal, health goal, relationship goal. You have to start with where you're at. You have to start with that responsibility. From there, you can start to truly look at what level of power do you have, right? Because if you don't have a great relationship with somebody, for instance, your ability to influence that person is not going to be very good. So how do you build better influence? How do you build better relationships? How do you build better influence? And I think it really starts with building that influence with yourself. How do you build influence and trust with yourself? Start keeping your word to yourself. Especially when you say things to other people that you're going to do or things that you really believe in. Start keeping your word. Start building congruence and consistency. And when you do that, you start to take on a higher level of responsibility. That higher level of responsibility helps you take on a higher level of responsibility for the world outside of you and the world and the people and the things that you're connected to. Once you're able to do that, now you can establish a higher level of connection to your goals and to your purposes and to your ability to influence and change the outside world. Now, I think a lot of people are afraid to take this on. That's the fear of success. And I understand when I say a lot of people, I'm generalizing, but generally speaking, I think people have some level of fear of success, which is they're afraid to take on responsibility for themselves. But if you can fully confront yourself and your ability to take on responsibility, then you can influence. Then you can change the world outside. Then you can set goals that are achievable, right? It's hard to do that when there's no congruence and there's no alignment and there's no responsibility. So, if you want a breakthrough in being able to accomplish more goals or higher level goals or to break through to a higher level in life, it's going to start number one with you. Being responsible to yourself, to your word, to your beliefs, to your actions, the congruence with who you say you are, the things you say you want, the congruence with, who you really believe yourself to be, the congruence with your relationship to the outside world, to the environment, to the people around you. This responsibility, taking responsibility in this way, is going to allow you to take real action that's going to get you real results. A lot of people just take action. Now, action will help you overcome anxiety. It will help you overcome maybe fear of failure or lack of results. But there's a difference, right? There's a difference between being busy, taking action just to be busy. It'll get you temporarily out of that feeling. But in order to get real results, in order to take real action, you have to understand these things, these principles, right? Take full responsibility. That's for you first. After that, it's responsibility for your environment. Take responsibility for the environment you're in. And if you don't like it, you have to change it. If you can't change it, now you have to take responsibility for why you're in that environment, whatever that environment is. And then you have to start taking responsibility for other people and other people's actions and how they interact with you, right? How do you really do that? It sounds very esoteric, but in a sense, it's karma. We're here, in a sense, our existence, maybe in a sense, transcends karma. By virtue of existence, we're living out our karma, whatever that means. This is a Vedic concept. Karma, your dharma, is your life's work, so to speak. Your karma is kind of like, what you get for the seeds that you've sowed out in the world, in the universe, on a spiritual level. So the reason this is important is because, if you have some level of anxiety, or you feel like you're not achieving the results that you want to achieve, or even if you are achieving results, but you're not achieving the next level results, a lot of times it has to do with this point, which is that in some way you're out of alignment, out of integrity, or not taking responsibility. And the more responsibility that you can take, the more things you can handle, the more you can take on, the better action you can take, and the more goals that you can accomplish. And it's not like you just want to take random action, right? Because I think a lot of people don't know, if we rewind to what I said way back, a lot of people don't know what is the right actions to take, but they think that, just taking some action is going to get them results. Well, no matter what you do, it's going to get you a result. But the key here is taking action in a targeted approach towards those goals, right? So, initially shotgunning, taking the shotgun approach of just taking action, whatever that means, in a vague sense, it's going to get you results. They're probably not going to be very good, but it's going to give you feedback. That feedback is something that you can work with. And feedback in your life is something that you can work with. But feedback isn't necessarily good results, right? But feedback is necessary. So what's the end game? The end game is setting very specific targets, having a high level of responsibility and integrity and congruence with your objectives, with your worthy ideals, and taking action so that you are progressively realizing those worthy ideals. And that is the path to success. And to be a successful person, you don't just do that once in one area, of course. You have to do that over and over and over and over, multiple times in multiple areas. And you have to take the feedback of failure. A lot of times it's failure. The feedback is simply failure. And when you take the feedback of failure or success, sometimes it's success, sometimes it's failure, you take the feedback in your environment and you start to assimilate that. You start to process that. What does it mean? How can you change the actions that you are taking? How does it refine or improve the quality of the action, the quality of your goals, the quality of your responsibility, the quality of your interactions, the quality of your relationships, and ultimately the quality of then your ability to interact and influence the world around you? So these are the fundamental questions. If you have some level of anxiety, action will fix it. But what will cure it is taking those higher level actions with very well-defined goals, with very well-defined actions. And the more you get refinement around what those goals and purposes are, around what the actions are to get the result, the more momentum that you get, that starts to move you from, that starts to move you to the cure, right? Because you can get yourself out of anxiety, or you can get yourself out of feeling like a failure. You can get yourself out of these emotions and these feelings that are holding you down. But getting out of it's one thing. Eventually you'll go back unless you apply the cure. And the cure is taking that feedback, And if you don't have feedback, you got to go get the feedback. So take the action, get the feedback, and then start formulating, right? So that's why action cures everything. Sorry, I've been a little sick, so that's the rub. That's the rub. You can create results. You're always creating a result, by the way. How aligned is the results that you're getting in one area to the true goals, true ideals, true target? That's what you need to be evaluating all the time. So when you take action, you get the feedback, and you evaluate it against those targets, and you refine the action. And then this is kind of the process until you realize what is the effective actions. What are the effective and efficient and productive actions, right? Because you can take action, but the more targeted, the more refined, the more specific, the more exact that your actions are, the higher level results you'll get. The closer you get to the cure, the more momentum that you build for yourself to move towards the cure. And then at that point, when you accomplish the cure, then you start to provide help to those around you. And that, in a sense, becomes influence. So influence starts with yourself, just like responsibility. First, you have to influence yourself. Influence yourself to make the right decisions. Influence yourself to be congruent, to keep making the right choices, to keep taking the right actions. Influence yourself to discover those goals, those purposes, the actions that are required to take you to the next level. Let me know what you guys think.